And we are live on Oz Profit Investor. We bring the big names and we have the big red. I was going to say red man, but red man. How you going anyway, Graham? What's happening?
Good. Yeah, good. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on today.
Welcome,
it's
mate.
exciting. Sorry, Joe. You're saying how are you going anyway, Joe? What's
Thank
happening?
you, Joe.
Mate, I'm well. I'm excited. This is renovation is
Flipping,
a bit
Joe,
of my
flipping.
heart. Yeah, renovation flipping. Yeah, starts off with the renovation. You can't flip without reno, surely. Well, you kind of can. But I'm excited for this one. Jeff, how are you, mate?
Good. I'm excited. It's crazy. We're only about 8 weeks, roughly 8-9 weeks out from Christmas. So it's going to be some potential opportunities for. What's your thoughts on opportunities just before Christmas, Joe? We're sort of ad-libbing off the topic here a little bit. They just want to close out deals.
I just want to close out deals. The supply of stock is very limited over Christmas, so it definitely drops off. But sometimes, if there are people that need to list a deal, you can actually get quite a good bargain. So this year, to be honest, I actually don't think it is a time to wait for the market to move. I don't think wait for, I'll get a bargain over Christmas. I think 3 years ago you could get a bargain over Christmas, but I don't think this year is going to be a bargain over Christmas. There is so much buyer demand out there, and Graham, you're probably seeing this with the type of deals that you're trying to acquire as well, that it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to, if you can get a deal done today, get a deal done today. I'm also seeing it like price wise as well. It's more important to be in a good location, a great property in a great location where I love snagging a bargain, but it is very hard to snag a bargain with how limited supply there is. So yeah, I think if you can get a good deal, get a good property in a good location, go for that rather than going for a deal, because that deal is probably not a deal. It might just be there might be something really wrong with it.
Might be a dud rather than a deal. A dud deal.
Might be a dud. Might be a dud.
Dud rather than a stud. So great. What are we talking about today? So we are going to be introducing flipping away to financial freedom. So I think that's a bit of a gateway to it's an exciting sort of thing. People love to think about financial freedom, but the crux, we're going to talk to you here about projects and Graham's process, because I think understanding the process, yes, financial freedom is sexy, but I think it's important if you don't understand how you actually kind of put the jigsaw or the Lego blocks together, the Jenga blocks, whatever analogy you want to use. I've used about 3 in about 2 minutes, about 20 seconds there. If you don't understand that, then the financial freedom piece won't happen. So I think that's what we are going to talk about, how this dovetails into his idea and concept of financial freedom. But we're going to unpack some of he's done 10 deals this year, 9 or 10, one or the other. And he's sort of going to talk us through how he's actually acquired them, what flipping is, what his process, answer a whole bunch of questions, add a whole bunch of value. So without further ado, content of the week. What are you reading this week? What are you reading this week, Graham? Or what are you looking at?
I'm not reading anything, but I'm listening to an audio book at the moment. I've been listening to it for a few weeks and I haven't got through it. The Richard Branson autobiography, The Finding My Virginity. So his second one. That's what I listened to a little bit this morning, but yeah. That's
Is it Finding? Was it his first one losing?
Yeah, so he's done the second one as Finding.
Jeez, there you go.
I
didn't think you could find that once, but anyway, I lost it. Anyway, jeez, I'm inappropriate. Hope there's no kids watching, but no. How is the book? Is it so far?
Oh, yeah, it's all right. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's anything special, but there's been a few takeaways in it, so that's always the main thing.
Yeah, I think I read that book as well, and that was my vibe with that actual book. I think the first one, when I was like 18 or something, it blew my mind and I loved it. And then the second one came along, I was like, yeah, so you're really rich and then you got a little bit richer. Cool. Okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
I'm rather the struggle street, pushing forward and then getting that richness. What about you, Jeff? What's your little content of the week?
Oh man,
I'm soaking up
a tweet from Pete, our friend. I was going to say friend of the show, Pete Wargent, but he was referencing SQM data, and he was saying vacancy rates fell to 1.1%, and that's nationally in September. We've declined that vacancy rate in Sydney and Melbourne. So that's from SQM. So
it started to raise. I think it raised. moved up a little bit, and
Right.
people were like, "Oh wow, the rental crisis is starting to end," and now it's dropped back down to
looking at it went up. I'm just looking at August 2023. Yeah, so August 2023, across the nation, it has. Well, Brisbane went up 0.1%. Perth is 0.4%. That's just ridiculous. Like, and at Perth and Adelaide, just absolutely 0.4 and 0.5%. Canberra is even dropping a little bit as well. Darwin's still 1.2%. Yeah, so it's just insane. So there's only 32,000 rental vacancies nationwide. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, no wonder why rents are increasing and all that sort of stuff. And and I suppose people are finding it hard tenants are wanting to try and buy properties as well, rather than sort of try and combat rising rents. So yeah, that's interesting to sort of see how that trends into 2024. Feels weird saying 2024, but yeah. What about you, Joe? What are you reading?
It's going to stay low. It's going to stay low for a while, unfortunately. What am I reading? I'm reading the Ned Brockman biography. This is that kid who's, 25, 26, and he ran from Cottesloe Beach in WA to Bondi Beach in like 45 days. So he ran 100 and odd kilometers every single day over that period of time and raised, $1.85 million. I have no idea. Well, I'm halfway through the book, and I'm like, the big takeaway from me from that is like how ordinary, because he's telling his life story, and he's only 25, so he's only kind of just starting. But
doesn't have
every
kids,
single
word.
I don't know if I don't have kids and I can't run to Cottesloe. But the key takeaway from that is he's just a normal dude. His upbringing, nothing special. Who he is, nothing special. He's just a normal dude. That his mantra was, I just don't give up. I've set my mind to something and I'm going to achieve it. So he's very upset. Like during the process of running, he's crying, he's upset, and he's like, man, I want to give up, but it's just not in my vocabulary. I just don't give up. And it's something that we can all take away and just go for. Like, if that's what you want, you can make it happen. You can run 100 kilometers a day mentally, physically. Same with property investing. Like, oh no, I have to read another report, or oh no, I have to make another phone call to a real estate agent, or no, I have to do another letterbox drop. Like, it sucks. Buying property, especially right now, is incredibly difficult, but it's just what you got to do. If you want to get to that end result, you got to do what you got to do. But that's what I'm reading. But that's not what this is about. This is about Graham, the man, the myth, the legend. What I like is getting on people that we haven't really seen out there in the world. And I think we've got a rare gem. I think you're going to hear a lot about Graham in the future. He just told us, we were chatting to him offline on Facebook. He's like, yeah, I don't really know how to do this social media thing. I've been on it for 3 weeks or so. So forgive me if 3 months. So I feel like we've cottoned on. So I'm flagging this early. There's going to be a big success here. But I'm keen to unpack your property investing journey.
We got in first. First one was property investing.
We are the first in. But I'm keen to talk renos. But before we do that, let's do this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement from the master of commercial property investing, Steve Polisi.
I love commercial property.
Get ready to have your minds blown as Steve is back, and he's got some pretty exciting news for us. Steve is unleashing his second sensational book upon the world, and get this, for the Oz Property Investors members out there, he's giving it away absolutely free. Yep, 100% free. Yep. 100% free for all property enthusiasts who want to learn and grow on their commercial property investing journey. But he's also added a little extra chili to make this deal even spicier. With this free book, you'll also receive a complimentary 1-hour strategy session with the man himself. Imagine a full 60 minutes with Steve's commercial and property genius dedicated to helping you master the intricate dance of commercial property investing. And who better to dance with the man who looks better than Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing? Don't know about that. Want to grab this offer? It's super easy. If you're live right now, click the link in the comments and secure it today. If not, grab your device, open up the browser, head over to PolisiProperty.com, look for the book page and grab your free copy of Steve's latest masterpiece. And when you're checking out, make sure to use the exclusive code OZPROP to secure the free book and also your free 1-hour strategy session. My only concern with this offer is that Steve's going to have to turn it off soon, as he can only do so many sessions. So if you want to secure your spot, do so today. Oh, nearly passed out there.
Oh wow, that's great. By the way, I'm trying to add the thing to your group, Graham, but it's so if you can multitask, accept my pending post. Sorry, I thought I could post it, but anyway,
All good.
So Graham's group. But so who is Joe did an amazing intro for Graham, but so you have done 10 flips, Reno flips this year, maybe or 10 flips. They may not be. But you've done more than that. I think you've probably done up almost 20 now, maybe. So I was looking at your website and I was trying to, but yeah. So, but who are you? You are WA based and you are adding value through uplift and reno and development. And I think you're motivated by challenging the conventional approach. So you look at off market opportunities, win-win, and I think that's part of how you're able to have actually been able to do 10 sort of successful deals this year because. Like in the Perth market, anybody who's sort of spent more than sort of 30 seconds talking to a Perth real estate agent knows that they're selling anything. They're selling I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's hard to sell. I don't know. They're selling ice to Eskimos over there at the moment. So, but I think the thing about you as well is you're not simply about the sort of, you are about strong relationships, money partners, trades people as well. So I think there's a lot of kind of tactics behind your success. There's not a simple kind of it's a lot of perseverance and resilience and all those kind of sexy terms like Ned Brockman, whose book I'm going to read now because I'm just fascinated by that. But what I mean, Graham, also you have 3 young ones and twins. So
I do.
That's probably you're probably much harder than flipping properties, I imagine.
Well, fortunately, I've got a wife that's very good at that, so she's very good at looking after them. But yeah, I've got twins that are 4. They're boys, and I've got a little one that's turning 1 on Monday. So
happy
3
birthday.
Boys. Yeah, so Jesus, 3 boys. So
crazy. Are they going to play footy for the West Coast Eagles or Dockers, or who are they playing for?
With a bit of luck, mate. With a bit of luck, but no, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to be into yet, but yeah, they've got pretty good hand-eye coordination, so that's the start.
There you go. Maybe they can flip properties. So let's start off the question that we love to people to ask, or we love to ask people is, tell us about your first property you purchased and what got you in property.
So first property flip. Okay, so it was 2021. I'd just done a course, how to flip property, got a coach, and I got a property under contract in August 2021. And I didn't start the renovation till October, so pretty much 2 years ago. And yeah, it was a property in Waikiki, which is a suburb in Rockingham in Perth. So a lot of interstate people know Rockingham because it's been a suburb that's had a lot of interstate investment and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was a property in Waikiki. The address was Bunda Place, number 5 Bunda Place, Waikiki. It was a property I bought for $250,000, and I sold it. I did a $38,000 renovation and sold it for $415,000. That same property today would probably get an extra $150,000. But anyway, but I still made a $92,000 profit. It took me a 4-week renovation. I settled on in the beginning of October, and then it was completely signed. 4-week renovation, cash buy. I think they settled 3 weeks later, and I was paid before Christmas. $92,000 profit.
Do you want to bring it up on screen, Joe? Or you should bring it up. Like it's
what's the address?
5 Bunda.
It was the number. If you go, it'll be one of the last projects because I did it in order of most recent to last. Oh, actually, that's not even going to be on there. That's from last year. So no.
Just jump on realestate.com, Joe. I've looked at the listing. It's got all the photos. It looks fantastic.
The old one. It's got the old photos.
Let's see. I'll see if it has the old photos. Give me a tick.
That's all right.
I'm running through. It does have the yes. No, hang on. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it does have the photos.
Look at this. So there you go. So
415. And
yeah, this is good.
355.
1 year. So 2 years and 2 months, and then 1 year, 11 months and 6 days ago. So you sold it very quickly.
5 days. But have a look at realestate.com. It pretty much has all you need to. Oh, this has it as well. I like to look at it on real estate, but yeah,
that's the old photo.
You you did an absolute sort of great job of the reno. Like it was, and we'll unpack.
They're old photos.
There's hundreds of photos, Joe.
Yeah,
Just
these are all the old ones.
Go to the most recent.
God, sorry guys.
It's all right.
Like I never used this tool ever.
What's the? Oh no, sorry, I'm ripping into you. But if it was me, I'd probably. This is the finished product. Sorry, I wish.
Yeah.
Poor Joe. Sorry, Joe, man. It's hard working this when you got Jeff as a co. What? Yeah,
This is a very nice reno. So you staged it as well?
I stage all the properties. Yep. So I've got a staging
That's one of your
company
secrets.
Oh yeah. So you definitely get a better price when you stage a property. There's no question, because a lot of buyers, they can't really envisage what it looks like and can't really see themselves living in the house. They can't really picture how big the bedrooms and that are. So by having a property staged, I think you well and truly get your money back and a lot more from having it staged versus having it unfurnished.
Even had like a painting of a woman or a lady like on the wall. That was an interesting kind of addition.
Yeah, not by me. That's we'll leave the staging lady that she chose.
Ah, that was that was a great result. So tell us more. So how did you then sort of feel after that first flipping experience? Like were you sort of nervous?
I actually did 2 deals at once. So I actually did in that August. I secured 2 deals. I did that one, and I also secured one in Greenfields another one, Brighton Place, and that one I actually didn't reno. I actually just flipped it. It was the only property I've ever done that I didn't actually reno. So I purchased it and sold it the same day. I purchased it for I think $242 and sold it for $299.
So that's interesting to me the most. How the hell did what do you mean one day? How's that work? What does that
So
look
I
like?
got it under contract. I got it under contract, and then I knew it was probably worth $300. I got it for $242. At that stage, I was like still, obviously really green and inexperienced. So I was sort of freaking out a bit, like thinking, the market's going good. I just wanted to I didn't really want to have 2 renos on the go at the same time as well, because I just started. And that one was actually fairly livable as it was. It was livable. The guy had purchased it a year earlier for the same price. I think he'd purchased it for like $240. And so I'd come along a year later, but I knew the market had moved sort of 50, 60 grand. Anyway, so I basically got the offer accepted at $242, I think it was. And then there was an agent in Mandurah who at the time was already dealing with interstate investors. This is when they first started coming into Perth. And he had someone that would take it. I did another contract that day, $299. I still had to settle on the property. So I still had to pay stamp duty, which was only about $7 grand on that price. But yeah, there was still and then I ended up paying that agent $5 grand because he didn't actually list it. But yeah, all in all, it was still a decent little profit for no.
So would you change the way that you did that? Like, is there a way you could do a deed of assignment and
you can't do it in WA? Can't do it in WA. You can in some states. Like I know you can in South Australia, but you can't in WA.
Have troubles with that, Joe. Like trying to, because then you have to. Yeah, it's just there's a little piece of thing, and you have to do. Yeah, you can't deed of assignment.
To do a paper settlement. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
don't worry. I tried, but it didn't work.
So how did what do you reckon? I mean, that's what it could have should have hadn't. But what if you'd have renovated that one? Would that have sort of sold it? Maybe sort of.
That was the thing. Nah. Because if I had it was already like really fair condition. So like, look, I mean, most of the properties I reno, most of them I buy are terrible, right? They're pieces of turd. So that's why I can buy them cheap and then reno. But look, in the last 2 years I've done 17 deals. There's probably been 3, and that was one of them, which could have just flipped as it was. And so with that one, if I had done a reno, I wouldn't have made by the money that I would put in the reno. Like if I spent say 30, 40 grand on that reno to put in new kitchen and bathrooms and flooring and lighting and stuff, I wouldn't have got any extra. I probably would have only sold it for 340, 350 at the other end. So it wouldn't have been worth it. I've done another deal where I could have made a pretty good profit as it was, but then I decided to do the reno because I was going to get a little bit extra. But it's all part of like being an area expert, knowing your market, knowing who your buyers are. I mean, that's why you use things like RP Data, and you have a really good real estate agent who you can lean on who can, who knows the market, knows what it's worth, and then you sort of got to, weigh up whether or not it's worth doing the reno or not. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, you've got to do the reno because it's when you're flipping houses, you're buying the ones that are pretty bad.
One that you probably wouldn't send your worst enemy to live in, perhaps.
Some of them are pretty bad. Some of them you go into, you need to have a shower when you get home. That's how bad they are.
Have a hazmat suit. It's handy, and maybe some Lynx deodorant. But that's interesting. You said that being an area expert and that sort of thing. Let's shift gears a little bit. And let's kind of, for those who have never done a reno flip or flip before, take us through like what is involved. Like what is your process? Like how do you think about renovation flips? Like what should somebody who's just haven't done one?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of steps. It's not just like a 1 or 2 step sort of thing. So, but first thing's market research and picking a market that you're going to play in. And when I talk about area expert, you need to know the market as well as sort of a real estate agent would. So you need to know what all the prices are in there. You need to know what unrenovated stock's worth, what renovated stock's worth. You need to know who the buyer is. So, me being in Perth, the last couple of years I've been playing in the lower end of the market because I know that that's where the most of the growth has been. And I know that's because there's been a lot of interstate investment. So I look at data and stuff like that to pick the suburbs that are about to go. I've got to, use a property analyst that you guys are, know who he is. So, and he helps me with, looking at data and choosing suburbs that have got growth potential or, and that sort of stuff to, maximize my end results and stuff like that. But yeah, I suppose, as far as market research and choosing a suburb, I mean, look, if you look at a city, for example, it doesn't matter what city you are, whether it's Perth, Melbourne, wherever, not all suburbs perform equally in the city at one time. I mean, being buyers agents, you guys would be, spruiking that. So, rather than sort of being content with just any suburb or, the suburb that you live in or live near, if you can be a bit more strategic and pick suburbs where there's, growth potential, then you're going to maximize your returns.
Yeah. So how do you actually, I'm interested in how you actually started doing all of this. I know we're taking a little bit of a step back, but you haven't done it like a normal person dips their toe in. You're like, there's the deep end. I'm just going to dive head first off the top diving board and buy 2 properties. One I'm going to renovate and then one I'm going to sell. Like how does that? How have you done it? How do you think about it? How did you get to that? How did you get to that point? Yeah,
I come from a sales background, so when you're a salesperson, you're pretty. It's all about numbers. So when I was selling homes, it was always like volume. And so I sold new homes, not established real estate. But anyway, and then I had a couple of years break from selling homes from 2019. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like I'd had the Perth market at that time was tanking, and I sort of wanted to do something different. So I went work FIFO for a couple of years in Perth, WA, Northern, and I was just doing a pretty cruisy job. I wasn't on the tools or anything, but I had a fair bit of time. Like I was pretty much working on my own and in an office. So I actually had a property in a suburb called Coolbellup in Perth. It was an investment property that I'd had, and it got trashed by the tenants. And so what I did a really cheap reno on it. It was about 35 grand, this reno, but I transformed it amazingly. And I realized that when I sold it, I was like, so there's something in this. And then, sometimes things just come your way after that. I remember seeing obviously an ad for a renovation course, flipping course or whatever. And so I sort of jumped in and did the course, and then it turned out that I did the course, and I thought, it was good. And then I need a coach. So there's gaps in this course to help me. And then the coach I had, which you guys had on your show a couple of weeks back, Karen Baldwin.
Karen.
She's a bit of a weapon. She'd done at that time when I met her, she'd done 60 flips or something crazy. So I remember saying that I wanted to do 8 flips in my first year. And that was my target. I was just going for it. So I think I ended up doing 7 in my first year, and I've done 10 now. So It's my second year. So.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And it's kind of like Ned Brockman. Just, I'm going to do it. Let's get it done. Let's make it happen. So area research, that's something that people talk about a lot. Like, what does that actually look like from a practical standpoint to become that area expert? So like Waikiki and Rockingham, how did we get there?
Yeah, look, to be an area expert, so I mean, so one, I'd like I said, I'd look at suburbs with potential growth if that's possible. Look, I understand not every city's having growth at all times, but if you can choose a suburb which looks like it's trending upwards. Like like if you're looking at listings to sales ratios and stuff like that, anything that might be heading in a neutral or up. That's how I'm sort of they're the suburbs I'm sort of targeting. But then as far as from actually being on the ground, you really need to know, okay, who's the buyer? Because when I renovate the property, I've got to deliver a property that the buyer wants, right? So, and look, when you're starting out, like I'd recommend to most people, start out at the bottom end of the market. That's when the bottom end of the market, doesn't matter what the market's doing. It's always more buoyant because there's a bigger buyer pool, and if you get it wrong, you can it's not as detrimental because they're not as picky on the renovation. If you're renovating in a Bondi or Cottesloe, like you said before, then the buyer's wish list is going to be like so long, and if you miss it, you can stuff up big time, sort of thing. So as far as market research, you need to know what the values are in the suburb. You need to know who the buyers are. You need to speak to agents, really lean on them for as much information as possible. You need to be going through home opens. You need to know whether within a suburb, is there a better part than the other suburbs? So when you're doing your feasibilities, you need to make sure, okay, well, hang on, that one's got this school, this suburb's got 2 different school zones. That school zone's like a premium, so it's getting higher prices, or this suburb is, that side of the suburb's close to the industrial area, so it doesn't get the same prices as that side, or that side's closer to the beach, so it's going to get hot. So there's you literally got to know the suburb inside out like an agent would.
So how many suburbs were you looking? So when you're starting out, like how many suburbs do you recommend people or how many were you looking at that point in time to be able to, because you can only do that in-depth research, to
a couple of suburbs. Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, what I'd recommend is you start on 1 or 2 suburbs, but then you can sort of branch out within the whole local council or shire or whatever you want to call it, because, like depending on the area, like quite often the suburbs in the local shire will be quite similar, maybe similar demographic and similar pricing. That obviously I'm not all, but like for me, because I'm like, okay, so with Perth, I've known that the what's been driving the market was the interstate investors. So I knew that as long as the property with the suburb was cheap, then I knew it was going to have good growth prospects, because the buyers were chasing high rental yields and strong, and that was obviously causing strong growth anyway, because there was so much demand. So so that's how, and obviously everyone's wondering, like, when the suburbs going crazy in price, how am I buying? I'm buying it off market. That's so I'm you're wasting your time in a hot market trying to buy on market and flipping property for profit, not possible. So you're looking for off market, and you're buying properties that are very tied.
So very tired. So do you look on market at all? Like, obviously,
I did in my first year. I must have put in that many offers, and I think I landed 2 sales, or two from being on market. And the other 15 sales I've done have all been off market.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of you've done your area research. We've sort of picked the area we're comfortable with, and we're comfortable on pricing. So now that you've done that, what's sort of the next step in your process? Your next step, I imagine, is to try and find the prospecting.
100%, yeah. So it all comes down to prospecting. So if you're in sales, again, the number one thing is prospecting. Without prospecting, you're not going to get any new deals. So that's how you've got to treat looking for properties as well, looking for deals, because they're out there. You just got to find them. So so that's all the emphasis is to find them. So I mean, openly I do letterbox drops. So I put letters into people's mailboxes, and that's how I find opportunities. And you're looking for there's all sorts of reasons why people sell under market. Like a lot of people think, oh, why the hell would they sell under market? But there's so much distress out there. There's there's the house is completely tired, like I said, it's run down, and the people don't have the energy or the time or the to. Did
you see that one did you see that one in Crestmead? Good old the greatest showman, good old Billabong Drive.
We had it on the had it on the show last week, and it's made the news all of a sudden because it was
news. We were the catalyst. No, we weren't
dog
the
box.
No, that was that literally had holes in the walls, and those are the kind of
it had walk through the walls if you wanted to. One of the questions I have, Graham, about this letterbox drops is what's like the return in terms of, like, you send out 1,000, how many inquiries do you get? Like you're a sales guy, you love the numbers. Like
it's
what does that look
impossible to
like?
judge, because sometimes you can get good hit rates and sometimes you get none. Like you go through. Like I mean, at the moment I'm a bit dry. Like I've got one reno on the go at the moment, but I'm like my goal is to get 3 more before Christmas. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's the market. It depends. You know, like I've sort of hammered the areas that I've been targeting, so they're probably probably people are going, not this guy again. But yeah, I get a lot of phone calls from people telling me that, but
stop sending me letters.
Yeah, I'm not selling my house to you. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you've just got to.
They're calling you though. Yeah. They're calling you. Hey, it was like, well, hey, do you know somebody who is like? You might not be selling your house, but like, do you know somebody who is like? Hey,
well,
like,
I'm funny, funny you mentioned that. That first deal I ever did, that Waikiki one, that's how it happened. The lady next door. She called me and she said she just wanted to ring up and have a chat. She was pretty nice, and then she said, "Oh, the old guy next door, he's a retired doctor and he's wanting to sell his property because he wants to move back to Canada." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Can I give him a call or whatever?" And she went and asked him and gave me his number, and I gave him a call. And he actually had bought that property a year before for like $250 or something. And it was actually, once again, the property was in pretty fair condition. I mean, you can't buy these properties in these suburbs for $250 anymore, but
$450 probably, yeah, roughly $450.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So she, so anyway, I had a chat with him. He wanted to go back, and all I had to give him was the money back that he paid for the property. And like I said, in that year, I knew it had gone up in value anyway. And but yeah, it was just So different people are driven by different motivators as to why they're selling off market. Some people they want to relocate. Some people might have had a bad tenant and they've just got the stress. Some people going through financial distress and they can't fix the property to put it on the market. There's just some people are embarrassed the way it looks, so they don't want to have home opens. Some people are private people and they don't want to have home opens. Like, I went to have a look at the house the other day, and the lady's a teacher in the suburb, and she just doesn't want the school kids and the parents coming through the house. So there's a million different reasons why people sell off market.
Yeah,
hopefully you can buy it well.
Yeah. And how do you? I guess without an agent, how do you negotiate the deal? Just directly with them.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you are the agent essentially. So, you just got to, make an offer sort of thing. I mean, my trick is always to make them, show their cards first, so that way I know that so I don't pay too much, sort of thing. But you've got to condition the seller at the end of the day. Like, once again, it's you've got to sell them a little bit and tell them why their house is not worth what they think it is, because everyone thinks their house is worth more than it is. So once again, by being an area expert, you can tell them, this is what, you can have a CMA with you and say, look, this is what other sales are going for. You might be able to bring up a valuation report from RP Data and show them what the house is worth. Or, even hopefully RP Data is wrong, because quite often RP Data valuation is here and the price is worth considerably more. But yeah, you've just got to,
Is something it's something more critical, but are you able to sort of go in and sort of say, well, hey, look, we want to make sure we want to make a seamless transaction. Like, I want to make this really, really simple. I know you sort of whatever sort of but whatever challenge they're facing. It's like I'm either, I don't know if you're a cash buyer, but say, look, I want to make this really, really quick and easy for you. Like, what suits you in a settlement? Like, is that kind of a big sort of
so you want to obviously create a win-win. So typically speaking, there's going to be and that's part of your job is to to be able to purchase a house you need to find out what they want, sort of thing. So in that case of that one, the Waikiki one, he wanted to go interstate. So for him, a cash offer and a quick settlement is what he wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all sorts of different win-win opportunities.
Sounds of it.
Yeah, so this is a great question that's come up. Do you buy unconditional contracts? So you don't have a finance clause, you don't have a pest and building clause.
Yeah.
Is that what you did on this one?
Majority of the time, that's what I do, yeah, because I typically use money partners, not banks, for finance. So typically I just go, I've got a lot of money partners that just jump from deal to deal with me. I've got a lot of other money partners who, like, I'm pretty confident I can always get a money partner for a deal. So I just go in cash contract.
What's the quickest you've settled a property? Given, like, have you been able to settle in like 15 days, or imagine?
So I typically do 4 weeks, and the reason for that is just so I can line my trades up. because otherwise, it's for me. It's all about like typically my renovation takes 4 to 5 weeks. That's it. I don't like if it goes longer than 5 weeks. I'm not happy. But typically, and I have it all scheduled. So I schedule it from day one. So day one is disconnect. Electrician, plumber comes in, disconnect. Day 2, demo. So I have it scheduled from day dot. But obviously with my trades, they all look after me because they jump and they do so many jobs with me now anyway. But in the early days, I'd make sure that I had at least 28 days, so that way I could book them in. And most of the trades are pretty good because they're only sort of do 2 or 3 days on your jobs. The ones that they're a lot longer, like the painter, it might take them a week or 2 to paint a house. So they're booked out a little bit. But now I'm actually pretty good mates with my painter, so I get prioritised from him as well. And my handyman is almost like a site supervisor for me now. He's on site nearly the whole time. So because
I was going to ask that as well.
It's one of the questions that came up is how does Graham get around with not being a qualified builder?
So I don't do anything structural at all. So it's just cosmetic. So,
I suppose as well, you wouldn't necessarily need to, like, if you've got a trade, like, why would you need to? Well, I suppose if you wanted to understand what sort of works you'd need to do, that's where being a qualified builder might come in handy. I'm not sure if that's where the question is coming from.
Look, it's a massive grey area. Like, it is a massive grey area. Like, you can speak to heaps of different people and you'll get different responses. But, it's not.
What's a grey area?
Whether you need to be a registered builder or not, even with cosmetic.
For a renovation?
With structural, you need it. If it's
WA.
Once again, I'm not qualified here to really say this stuff, but with the structural reno, if it's 20 grand or more, then you need a registered builder. And I don't do any structural stuff. Like if you put in a kitchen or you put in a bathroom, that's not structural. Like that's cosmetic. I'm not changing the footprint of the house. I'm not moving walls. I'm not doing anything like that. And they're all licensed trades.
I think that might be WA specific. Is that I don't know about other states, but I think WA that is more of a thing. It might be across the nation, but yeah. There you go. So we've now sort of understood how you sort of go, and there were plenty of questions coming about kind of all that sort of the process of finding the property. So we'll sort of get to some of those, but I wanted to understand now that you've sort of you've purchased a property. What's the sort of next? Or I suppose before we even get to that, how did you get to build your team around your tradespeople? Like, how did you build that? How did you people you could trust?
So when I did it, I suppose I just like anyone, like if you're going to do a renovation in your own home, you just ring up and get 3 quotes. And then I just did that, and Perth. Everyone says, I saw the comments. How does he get trades? I can't even get trades. Well, Perth is as hard as, if not harder than everywhere to get trades because we've got the mining boom and every trade's getting paid an absolute fortune in working FIFO. So it's really difficult to get trades in Perth. But the difference between, some people and other people is some people, call 3 people, and then if they don't get one, they give up. Whereas I'll call 20 people if I have to find someone. Do you know what I mean? So when you're starting out, you just got to be relentless to find people. There's always small business owners out there who don't how many painters or electricians or, small businesses out there who are just starting out a business and they don't have a big clientele and they don't market properly or anything like that. There's always, you just got to find people. Like, you just got to ask.
Yeah.
It's not, it's no different to, people say, how do you get money partner? Well, unless you put yourself out there and ask for one, you're not going to get one. Do you know what I mean? So it's what you put in everything in life is what you get out, right? And so no different with the trades. You just got to be relentless to find people. But then a lot of tradespeople would rather work for people like me who pay them better rates than working for registered builders, like project home builders and that sort of stuff, because they get smaller rates and amounts sort of thing. So, so at the end of the day, you just got to, and when the first reno I did was actually the investment property I had, and which was before I did the course and actually started doing it, for profit. But I sort of just got all the trades I needed, and then after sort of a couple people didn't work out, so I got rid of them, then got a new person in. But most of my trades now have been with me for a long time.
Treat them well, pay them on time. Maybe bring them the odd coffee here or there, or slab of beer. That's
100%. So I typically, I haven't bought them any beers for a little while, but typically I buy them a carton and that sort of stuff. And I took a couple out to the Cass, had a big night a couple months ago. So just
the Cass is the casino, is it, or is that what they call it? Is it
It
the
is.
bird?
But you've never
is it the
heard.
bird-
Surely you haven't heard you've heard of the Cas.
I've never. What is that WA thing? I don't call it the Cass. Like we call it the
Casino,
Star
Cass, same thing.
the Crownie. Like
It's casino.
Anyway.
Yeah.
No, so is there any kind of tips and tricks to treat your trades? Like, what can we do? Like, what are some of the things that we can do to get our trades?
Well, look, if you're giving them regular work and you're paying straight, like I always pay on completion, whereas a lot of people, will, and I've got a lot of trades that always say that one of the reasons they like working with me is because I pay straight away. I'm a good payer, whereas a lot of people pay them, weeks later, and then they have cash flow issues and stuff like that. So if you look after people with pay, that goes a long way.
Yeah, exactly. And then mention it to them when you're applying
100%.
for the work. Just say,
100%.
hey, just letting you know, once you've done it, it's done. Like in your money in your pocket. Because sometimes when they work with property managers and things like that, they have them on a 30-day terms or 60-day terms.
100%.
So then they're struggling to get that. They're like, oh, well, I want to go out this weekend.
Cash flow management, yeah, may not be the greatest for managing cash. And if you can sort of, rather than them waiting 20 days to get paid, which means to pay the trade straight away, we don't have a problem. There you go.
And be organized to treat them well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I actually get along with all my trades, so like really well. So I'll probably have like a Christmas party for them this year, and
the cast.
Just take the gas. But I mean, a lot of them I go out, go out for lunch with them and that sort of stuff. And
need to make a meme for that one. For me, this is an issue. We did talk about this. So, do you flip interstate? And I think the answer was no.
I haven't, and I wouldn't, purely because I wouldn't be able to do the volume that I'm doing if it was interstate. But I've got a couple of clients. I've got a couple of clients that I'm coaching who are doing it interstate, so you can do it. Like it's the same.
It's the same process, is it?
Same process, yeah. But I'm with the renos now. Like I've got it down to a T now, where I'm only on site like once a week. So I just go there to take videos and photos now, and then it runs itself pretty much because I've got the right people doing it. Like I said, my handyman's basically a supervisor for me, so he's there. I can communicate with him and sort of stuff. And he's not a supervisor, but he's, because of the amount of work that he does for me, he does flooring, he does demo, he lays my hybrid floor, he does demo, like takes out old cabinetry and all that sort of stuff. He fixes all odd bits and pieces that need fixing. He puts up the blinds. He replaces doors, so does carpentry and stuff like that, and puts on handles. He does all sorts of crap for me. With him, for example, if I miss anything, he would just say, "Oh, Graham, this needs doing." And I'm like, "All right, cool, get it done." So.
Yeah, that's good. There's a question that's come up here. Do you think the area you picked will dry up and you'll have to change your strategy? I think it's kind 100%. Of an interesting question to ask.
Not strategy, but maybe the location.
So I've kind of changed locations already since I started anyway. Do you know what I mean? So like I did a lot in the Rockingham area. Now I've sort of moved in and started doing a bit more in the sort of Kwinana, Armadale area. What's that?
Different areas. You don't want to give away all your secrets, otherwise you're adding
more
demand risk.
Anyway.
You
don't give away where the projects are.
Yeah, it is what it is, mate. But like I'm I see kind of in the next couple of years, like my profits will come down if I stay in those areas. So rather than me making sort of $150,000 profits like I've been making this year, I'll be probably be back to like 50, 60K profits potentially, because you won't have that buyer demand and stuff like that. So I think there's always, I'd be willing to, if I had to, I'd be willing to relocate as well. Like for me, I'm not tied down to Perth.
Whatever it takes. I like the Ned Brockman of
so what's kicking you out of the other market? What's kicking you out of those markets now?
What other markets?
Well, like you're saying you're leaving this market and moving to.
I haven't left any markets, but like I said, I've just been following like the cheaper areas where there's more growth. So it's not kicking me out. Like I just know that like some of the suburbs I was initially playing in are not going to get the same growth now as some of the others. So that's why I've been more targeted to other suburbs, because, I suppose some of those suburbs, like, have had so much growth. Like how much more growth can they have? So
no
one thing I've seen
affordable as well. Like you sort of your margin gets compressed, because if like even if you're finding somebody who needs to sell, they sort of realize that they don't have to wait that long for somebody to find a buyer, whereas they can just sort of take it to a real estate agent. So people sort of start to realize that they can sell their properties even if they aren't in the best condition, probably as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people would obviously, sell, use an agent, but you just never know. That's why when you're with letterbox shops, you just never know who's going to call you.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Adriel's, and this is we're not saying this is the approach you should take, Adriel, or anyone should take. Have you registered as a sole trader? This is kind of an accounting question or a tax, or do you run your finances in a personal business? Like, how do you kind of structure your?
So I've got a company, PTYA Ltd. Yeah.
Not saying that's the way people should do it. Speak to your accountant, blah, blah, blah. Not financial advice, not accounting advice, not tax advice.
Do you put all the deals through that one? Do you put all the deals through that one company? And then just keep recycling through?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of once again a question that's whether like a lot of if you're doing developments, typically you'd put it through in a company and then you would close that company down. But with flipping, I kind of mostly keep it to one company.
Yeah,
gives me serviceability and stuff like that, company and that sort of stuff.
That's actually was going to be one of my questions around serviceability. So you don't even need to think about, you're going cash on these deals, so you don't even need to think about serviceability and banks.
Well, yeah,
but at some stage, once you do enough of them, because you're essentially, that's your business. That's your profession. So once you kind of show it in a tax return, is that what you're about to say, Graham?
Yeah. I was going to, because obviously there's properties. So I've got my strategy where I'm obviously flipping, but I've also, I'm doing a development at the moment. I'm keeping all of those properties, from they're accumulating, they're not getting sold. I just bought another property as well. So those properties, you need serviceability to be able to buy those properties, that you're keeping. So
look at this perfect timing. Just as you say that question comes in, thanks for answering. Do you ever keep any houses and build out a portfolio for long-term growth? So how do you think about that, right? So it sounds like you're going hell for leather for this renovation project, flip.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Yeah. Well,
so for me, obviously, the flipping it's going to sound weird, but the areas I'm flipping in are not areas that I want to accumulate property. Like
that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's, like I said, it's typically that I've been flipping in the lower end of Perth, like the crap areas, right? And so I'd rather, and I know everyone's got a different strategy. That's the good thing about property, right? There's no right or wrong strategy. So, but for me personally, like some of the areas I'm flipping in, like I'm like, do I want to deal with those tenants? Do I want to deal with? I don't think I do, right? So for me, like I've done a triplex development this year, which is, so those properties, are in a suburb that I think is better. I also think has better long-term prospect as well from a growth perspective, because it's a much more, better location and stuff like that within Perth. So I'm keeping those properties. Just bought another property as well, which is, similar location as well, but it's a bigger home, and it's all those properties are all going to be good cash flow that I'll put, the ones I'm holding. But at the same time, I know some people when they purchase properties to hold, they just go cheap, and then go for the higher interest, the higher rental yield. But for me, I'd rather be buying better suburbs and be a little bit more creative and get higher rental yields through being creative.
Or quality over quantity, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Is that kind of rather than own 25 properties and you have the property manager calling you every second Tuesday saying, "Oh, look, we've had your house burned down today. I'm sorry." Maybe not that extreme. You sort of then you sort of say, okay, well, the property manager calls you from that suburb where the tenants may be a bit better, and they're just complaining about the toilet and fix, which is a bit nicer conversation, hopefully.
Yeah.
While you're eating your Weet-Bix on your second Tuesday.
Yeah.
Very specific day to be eating.
I don't know. I have Weet-Bix breakfast, but shouldn't say this stuff online because people will start AIing me. They'll be anyway. But no. So let's kind of should we actually take a look at one or two specific projects and walk through what it looked like from start to finish? I think that'd be good, and that way we
go for it.
Yeah, which are you pick two out of the chart pack you've sent us, and we'll bring it up.
Just go the two most recent.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Is this one of the most recent ones? Armadale's pretty recent.
Yeah, Armadale and Warner. And Parmelia.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
Do it. Okay.
talk
this
me
is
through
it.
this. So
is this
I'm
before or
Okay,
after?
Okay, cool. So that's the after photo. So if you go to the next page,
It's pretty good.
scroll to the next
Here we go.
page. So here's some before
There's some-
photos. So you can see that there was water damage in the ceiling. That bathroom was horrendous. This house is probably one of the better houses actually that I've bought because some of them look way worse than this.
Wow. So how did you think about the risk with the water damage? Because like, how did you know?
So you just got to know that water damage is not structural, right? It just means water's getting in somewhere. So you just got to get a ceiling fixer to fix the ceiling, and then you just got half the time it's just there's a broken tile on the roof. Do you know what I mean? So obviously you get a building and pest inspector to come out. I've got a really good guy. Like my guy is like a registered builder, but he's a gun. So he comes in and he can give me the reassurance that it's fine.
And you're able to
have you?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say you're able to not negotiate, but you're able to sort of say to the owner, "Hey, look, I'm gonna do this even before I go into contract." Or how do you?
I always just do it subject. That's the only condition I do is subject to building and pests.
Okay, but even
so I buy it as is, so I don't care about anything else. It's just subject to structural building inspection and termite damage. That's it.
Because, so can you pull out? You can't pull out of the deal though if you like this ceiling here, right? There's no structural issue with that. You can't pull out of the deal.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. It's for me as long as it's because in Perth everything's double brick over here. Our method of construction is obviously lots of states are going to have different construction. So
some methods. So Warnbro in the 90s, I would be not so sure of. But yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Some of those ones in Warnbro that built in the 90s are apparently a bit sort of sketch, I hear.
Yeah, but they're fine. They're just there's no issue. It's double brick homes, concrete slab, double brick home. It's not going to fall down.
Because let's just say you had to do like a full bathroom, like that one, because a full bathroom can probably cost 15-20K, can't it? If you have to do the whole.
No. Do you want to go back to that deal and walk through the rest of the photos?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Sorry, go, Joe.
Yeah. Should we
go back to the after photos? Did you go to? Yeah. So that was the after photos. So the kitchen. I mean, you can see because it's a cheap end. I didn't even have the board across the top of the kitchen. You just got to know what your market wants. So I know it's an investor.
What do you mean the board? What do you mean a board across the?
So there's no board between the top of the kitchen and the ceiling.
Oh, up here.
Okay. There's a gap up there. I wouldn't have even thought about that. Do people care about that? Do they? Or?
Oh, it's just normally if it was a high-end reno, you wouldn't have that. So this is one of the bathrooms. So you can see that vanity is like what $400. That mirror is $80.
Is that the same? Is that the same bathroom that you showed in the pictures, or is that a different one?
No, that's the one in the pictures. That's the ensuite, and then that one there is a bathroom. So they're two
similar condition, was it?
What's that?
How was it a similar condition as the old one?
Oh, the house got fully gutted. So
yeah. So how different does it look when you see all of this stuff? What happens if they just took all the junk out and it was just like a blank canvas? Does it feel completely different? Like when you walk into it when you buy it, and then they're like, "Cool, clear everything out." And then, wow, actually, there's a blank canvas here.
It depends. Like like the house I'm doing at the moment, the one that's at the moment, like it was just horrendous. Like it was, like the carpet was cream carpet, but it was now black, sort of thing. Like I felt sorry for my handyman having to do the demo.
Nicotine carpet, or
no, it's just disgusting. Like it was just never been cleaned. There was like cobwebs in the house and the walls and stuff like that. There was, the house was just. It was stunk. So sometimes when you do the demo and you get rid of all the carpet and the blinds or curtains, all that sort of stuff, and you open up all the windows, it makes a big difference straight away. Yeah, they typically look better once they've been gutted and they've got no flooring and that than what they do when I buy them.
So what's the damage here? So how'd you find the deal off market from a letterbox drop?
Yeah, so it was a letterbox drop. They were selling because there was she just called me up, said, they had ill health and it was too much for them. They ended up just moving across the road. They rented the house across the road. I purchased it August 15 and it was under contract, 6 weeks later. And I purchased it for $250, did a 60K reno, sold it for $525, 172K profit. That's my
172.
that's my profit after paying all expenses and after paying my money partner as well.
Wow.
That's actually my best deal I've had. That's my best deal so far.
60,
I've had,
60K, no, that's 20% of the thing, which kind of blows out all those, those rules that people have about, you can only spend.
Those rules are junk. Don't listen to anyone that says about the 20% stuff. It doesn't work like that. You just need to know how to do a feasibility.
Yeah, there you go.
So my feasibility, my feasibility is end price. So whatever you're going to sell it for, end price minus all expenses minus the minimum profit that you're willing to make equals your maximum buy price.
As easy as that. How much money do you want to make? And then, because for you, you want to. Well, actually, what was your target for this one?
So it was actually 480. So I rode a fair bit of growth in this one. I'm always fairly conservative with my end price because you've got to be. But yeah, I mean, I knew when I bought it for 250, even if I sold it for 480, I knew it was a steal, the house. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I knew it was a steal. So
Armadel's just ridiculous. I know how much you love Armadale, Joe, but Armadel's just ridiculous. Like 10 days on the market, like just the data is just ridiculous in there. Like,
everything just sells first. There was 9. I had 9 offers on that property. So
9 offers.
Oh, here's the big question. Obviously, Graham, you may be hit with a tax bill for this one, and I do see that you've made $172,000. Now, when
it's more than most people making their job, though, Joe, isn't it?
I think that's more than 99%. Well, maybe not 99, 95% of the Australian population. I was the head of sales for Australia's largest legal tech startup, and my salary didn't cross $172,000 annually. But you made it in 5 weeks. But did you have to pay tax on that money? The real question.
I certainly did. So, yeah. So basically, look, I happily say, like, I'm not an accountant. I'm not giving accounting advice. If you buy the property in your own name, you're going to pay capital gains tax. So you don't do that. You buy the property in a company, and once again, I shouldn't be saying you do, but what I do, I should say, is I buy it in a company. I buy the property in a company, and then therefore company tax is what, 25%. So you're typically paying 25%. So take 25% off of 172. What's that?
I'll just qualify, because generally, if it's your first project, like this project is not your first project, so you would likely be paying you'd be considered as carrying on a business. So it would be more like probably a GST rather than a CGT kind of thing. I'm not an accountant, you're not an accountant, but when you
buy, So if you're going to pay company tax, but the advantage of having a company is then you've got your business has all it can write off all expenses and stuff, yeah. Versus if it's an individual, you don't have that luxury. So, but again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not telling you what to do, but what I do is I buy it in a company.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before the show. Oh, sorry, go, Joe.
It's flipping as a business, right? You're doing this as a business, and you need to treat it like a business. And you're dealing with large sums of money, and you got to treat it as such. But there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of pros. There's a lot of cons for different structures. But that's why we have accountants.
Because people get hung up on the whole yes, you're paying tax thing, but it's like, well, if somebody had a job, would they pay tax in a job?
Yeah. So exactly. 100%.
That's what I was trying to get to. That's what I was trying to get to, that other thing, right? Like you made $172,000. I got taxed on my job. You got taxed on this job, and you still, after tax, would have earned more than this, amazing tech salary that you're meant to get in real life. And you did that in 5 weeks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Helps having a great agent as well. We know the agent that sold that one. Nikki.
Yeah. So my agent.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. Can we talk to that? Because, well, you buy it all off market, so I guess it doesn't really translate so much. I mean, getting deals, because there's different types of agents out there. Like there's agents you want to buy off, and then there's agents that you want to sell off. 100%. How did you get to choosing?
My agent would never bring me a deal off market because she just does the right thing by her sellers.
Yeah. So how did you choose the best agent to sell? Because I'm buying in the WA market, and she's the best. I'm never going to buy off her because she is terrible for buying. She's the best at selling. She'll break records. But yeah, how did you get to her as the best option for your sales?
So I think I sold maybe the first 5 or 6 myself, because obviously I came from selling new homes, and I was like, oh, these agents are shit anyway. Like, I can sell better than they can anyway. So I just did it that way, and then I ended up I can't remember why, but I ended up getting I can't remember why, but I ended up somehow spoke to her, and I said, oh, I think that's what it was. I think I was like trying to get information from her. And I said, oh, I've got this property. You can come and appraise it. It was a way of me getting more info. And then when she came out, she was actually pretty good. And then I thought to myself, rather than me having to worry about doing the selling part, I was trying to get rid of work tasks for me, because
scale a business, right?
Yeah, and free myself up from stuff. And then it turns out she just won an award for like second best agent in WA like a month or two ago. She's
be number one soon.
120 house of the year or something like that, but she gets really good prices.
Are we getting her on a podcast, Jeff?
I don't know. I haven't chatted. I have to call her up.
We'll get her on.
Yeah. I don't know. She's probably too busy selling property, Joe. I saw this one. People who purchased property in Rockingham LGA blowing up right now, because I think did we talk bad upon Rockingham? Is that what we did?
What's LGA?
No. I think
local government area.
But no, I think he means like people have purchased. The price is blowing up right now. Like, it's moving a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. People have purchased. Oh, sorry. I thought they were getting upset.
One thing just to give a bit of clarity on, he has to pay back his backers, so it's not all profit. But no, what you were saying before.
Yeah, 100%. So no, when I say 172K profit, that's mine. That's after the money partner. So like I said, the profit this is how I work it out. So this is how I do my feasibility. So it's my end price. So if I'm going to sell it for 500,000 at the end after I renovate it, minus all my expenses, and then minus my minimum profit is how I buy. But yeah, when I'm working out my feasibility, my profit is after I've paid everyone, including my money partner. Like, a money partner on this only gets about 15 grand. So there would have been 197,000 profit in it, or whatever, at 15 plus 172 is. So yeah.
Yeah. It's
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's unreal. One of the questions that I there was a question that said, these deals are these deals harder to come by? So I guess yes, they are. But has that changed? Like, you're doing $172,000 of profit, and you're going to try and replicate that. Are you going to start shifting gears? Is 172 profit enough now? Like, where are you sticking that profit number? Because you've got to enter that in every single spreadsheet that you do. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually said to my wife when I got this one, this was the best one. I think I've had 2 or 3 others at that sort of. I've had one at this year. I think I've had 4 over 100. So I've had 150, 170, 150 something, 140 something, 110, 105 or something like that. So I've had quite a few that have been good. The lowest profit I've had was this year I had one at 50, another at 60, another at 78, and then so they've all been pretty decent. But when I I always work off a minimum of 60K profit. So it has to be 60K minimum. But then I always try and buy lower than that. So if I know, let's say for example, if I'm going to pay 400 for the property, then if that's my max buy price, and I need to be making at least 60. But obviously I'm going to be trying to buy it much lower than that. So if I need to buy it for 400 to make 60, I'm trying to buy it for 350, right?
So 400K is kind of like what Joe calls.
No, I'm just using
walkway price.
I'm just using 400 as an example, but what I'm saying is that when you do your feasibility, you know what your walkaway price is. And so for me, my walkaway price is a minimum 60K profit. Yeah. But because I've been buying, look, I'm under no illusion that my profits have been good because I've been buying in the suburbs that are getting growth. Like, I'm under no illusion that that's the case. But that's what I'm talking about. You've got to, to help with profits. If you're looking at your data, then that's going to help. In saying that, though, I'd still be happy if I was making $60,000-$80,000 profits anyway. Like, that's if I did do that 3 or 4 times a year. That's like that's 200, roughly 200K in sort of pre-tax sort of income or profit, or whatever you call it. Yeah.
It's great.
It's like
I mean,
everyone's
it's
salary is everyone tells everyone's salary is like, that's my salary. No, what about tax?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not
So
that
should
great.
we quickly run through it? Let's talk to another deal quickly, and then we'll go to a break, and then we'll get into. I want to hear about financial freedom. I'm sure everybody else does as well, but there's
Yeah, well, let's head to the break, and then we'll jump into the next deal, and we'll make it happen. Let's do it.
All right. Beauty.
There's a break.
There's nothing worse than going into a situation unprepared, especially when that situation is purchasing one of the most expensive assets of your life against a trained property expert in the form of a real estate agent. It's a scary thought, but it is a skill that can be taught. Do you want to learn how to become fully prepared when buying a property so you can get out there, buy your dream home or investment property without the fear of actually messing it up? Scott Agate, the founder and expert property negotiator at Hello House, has been helping people buy their properties by stepping in and negotiating with the agents and saving his clients tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. Scott has now decided to share all that he's learned over the past 28 years in real estate so you can go out there and do the exact same thing on how to find a property, analyze that property, negotiate on that property, and transact on it to get the best results. He's created the Get Buyer Ready course, which is a step-by-step guide on how you too can become an expert property negotiator. It's the easy way of how you can avoid all of these agent games and get the best purchase price on that dream home or your investment property. The course is in short bites for busy people with no fluff at all. Just all the information you need to get buyer ready and secure that next property with confidence at the best price. Scott has been kind enough to give our community a massive discount with the link below. Sign up today before you even think about putting an offer on that next property, and it will be one of the best decisions you ever make.
Bloody oath.
We're back. I'm getting very excited this whole flipping thing. Mate, makes you just want to go and buy some more property. Damn it! Like far out.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, the numbers that we're talking about here are ridiculous. It's crazy. So much money in such a short amount of time. How? Actually, the question I have is, how do you compress? What are your tips and tricks to compress that time frame? Because the renovation work,
project.
Yeah, because then both. How do you get it down so short? And
yeah, so it's obviously having a schedule and knowing what comes first and what comes last. Yeah, so you know, like I know that, okay, first things first is on the same day I have a disconnect. So plumber and sparky go and then disconnect everything. The next day the demo's happening. So I've got my tile guy doing his demo in the bathrooms, and I've got my handyman doing all the rest of the demo throughout. So it's just about having like I'm not having, there's no gaps between, there's never a day where no one's on site. Everything's just happening.
There's a question. Will you be willing to share your trade schedule template?
Probably more on that later, isn't it?
You can. Oh, more on that later.
I've actually, to be honest, I've actually completely shared that on one of my reels on my social media. So if you,
there you go. He is with, yeah. I'll drop your group in the chat now.
Or you shared it in the group, or
no? It'll be on there. It'll be on there anyway. I mean, if you go on my Instagram page or something, it was probably posted 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So how do you? Sorry, I kind of jumped in with that question. So how do you think about it? So you disconnect, and then you get the demo guys in. Then what? What does it look like?
So I do. So disconnects first day, plumber and sparky. Then it's demo, and then it's once everything's demoed, everything's out the house. That normally takes probably 2 days, and then the plumber comes back and does setup, and then the Tyler can come in and he can do all his waterproofing, or sometimes he can do that prior to the setup, and then the cabinets can come in, and then the Tyler can actually, because he's in the wet areas, no one else is in there, he can go on with that. So cabinets come in, then the stonemason comes in and measures up, then he's back a week later to do the stone tops, and then the Tyler can come back and finish tiling the splashbacks, and then the plumber can fit off. And meanwhile, there's normally a gap in that. Normally now I've got my handyman laying all the hybrid floors throughout, and then I've got and then the painters last, and then while that's all happening, anything that's happening outside can happen obviously at the same time. That's it, done. And then obviously there's a few other trades, like if you've got any broken windows, you know, the guy my glazier can just rock up and fix broken windows. He's not going to get in the way of anyone else. There's a few finishing stuff like, you know, if there's grass and retic, obviously that happens, you know, somewhere along the way as well. It doesn't really matter when that happens. I've got a gardener who, you know, quite often the gardens are quite like jungle sort of thing. So I've got a gardener that'll come in at the start and just clean it up, and then he'll come back and sort of, you know, pretty it off at the end. But again, I don't really go over the top with my landscaping because in my market I know who the buyer is. It's, you know, investors, so therefore they're not worried about, you know, manicured gardens or anything like that because tenants don't look after that stuff anyway. So so you just got to spend the money in the areas that are going to, you know, get you your return. But yeah, it's just got to look clean and neat. And also, I typically render the outside, so once again, that can just happen at any stage as long as it's done before the painter paints. It's all good.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's some solid gems there, because that's one of the hard parts is trying to work out.
You've got. It looks like you've got a bit of a template for what. So this is probably what one you did in about August, was it, Graham, or a little bit?
So this one and the Armadale one, I settled both of them October. This one, I settled both of them in August. This one was under offer in September. The one we just went through was under offer in October.
So did you render the front of this one?
No, that one was already rendered. It just needed painting.
It's painted.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us the story. What's the go with this?
Yeah, so this one here, I actually paid $290 for this. Here's a fun fact for this one. I actually paid valuation for this one. Came in at, so it was in WA we've got a thing called Keystart, which is like a shared equity scheme between the homeowner and the government. And anyway, his wife was unwell. They had to move close to the hospital. Anyway, so in order for him to be able to sell it, he needed to get a valuation done because Keystart, being government part owner, their criteria or their policy is to have a valuation done. It came in at $290. I did my numbers at $290. I was like, yeah, this stacks up. And yeah, this one, I mean, I sold it for $50,000 over what I was forecasting for. So my profit was 110 or whatever. But, you know, I initially was only forecasting 60K on this one. But yeah, I got lucky with once again, buying the right location.
A lot of investors looking in Kawana at the moment, the Kawana region. It's, absolute. Selling like hotcakes over there.
What'd you do to the bathroom? So let's just chat to the bathroom, because this looks gross, old, outdated. And then you look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, wow. But then you also spend a little bit. Yeah, that's the question. That's the same bathroom. But also, when you look at it structurally, what if you haven't changed much? Like you haven't. No, the bath is the same.
So I've ripped everything out. Obviously, just ripped out the tiles and everything that was in there, and then put a new bath in, new tiling, new vanity, new shower screen. That's it. And a mirror.
Yep.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Completely changed it. What are some of the low value life hacks for bathroom renovation in general that we should what are the best tips and tricks of bang for your buck?
Have a very good handyman, because your handyman can do, obviously he can't do things that licensed trades can do or anything like that, but he can, if he's good at hanging door, like for example, if I was my handyman, I pay him a day rate to do demo. If I was going to get a demo company, and then it would cost me a lot more, for example. Yeah. Likewise, if I was to get a carpenter in to hang doors, they're going to charge me a lot more than a day rate from a handyman. So that's probably a good one. The big thing is creating a cookie cutter model. So if you look at all my renos, they all look the same. There's no thinking involved. Yeah, there's no thinking involved. It's just the same. I use the same tiles, same tile shop, same everything, and it's just rinse repeat sort of thing. So there's some hacks for you.
What are some other good little tips and tricks? So bulk buy your materials, use the same colors, use the same tiles. One I really like is changing all the little PowerPoints and stuff like that, because they get all yellow and gross.
And I used to do that. I don't even worry about it anymore. I used to do it because once again, if it was an owner-occupied market, I'd definitely do that, because owner-occupiers would care. Investors don't. Investors care about rental yield.
Well, they don't even see it. They don't even see it, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So let's look at let's unpack his gave us a bit of a detail on the numbers, but yeah, 290 off market for a letterbox drop. Too much work. Well, yeah, so I'm sensing. So this is where there's potential opportunity, but it's like, how many letterbox drops do you have to do? Like, you're sort of doing about 1,000 a month, or what? How many are you roughly doing a month?
Don't know.
I suppose it depends. Oh, that's
I do quite a few.
Yeah, so it's sort of you might sort of do 1,000 or whatever it is. You might
It's the law of averages, right? You do a million.
Everything's a numbers game, right?
Yeah, and again, that's sort of what you're talking. What's that? Close to 20% reno cost again. But yeah, the FISO made sense. And your property under contract. Yeah, so very similar numbers. Very similar numbers for the slightly lower.
This one actually
price.
should have been. This one actually, I had a blowout in this. I was actually forecasting 55 for the Renault. Came in at 59. This was a 3x1. The other one was a 4x2, and they came in at the same price. They shouldn't. But this one, I actually had a $5,000 blowout on the windows. The windows were timber. Typically, windows in most properties in Perth are, aluminium or whatever. But this one, I missed it, and so that cost me $5,000 just to replace the windows. So that was a blowout.
Jeez, who'd have thought timber windows would be more expensive?
It was only 3 windows that I had to replace. So the 4 windows.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy. The 3x1. The 3x1s. I mean, yes, it's a nice Renault, but geez, 3x1 sold for over 500K. I think was that close to. That would have been close to a suburb, not a suburb record, but for 3x1.
Yeah. So Nikki actually told me, my agent actually said she just missed it. I think it was 508 in there with the 3x1. She just missed it, but yeah, that was a pretty good one. Pretty good return.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, what is there one in here that's truly ugly? Like, I want the story of like the absolute creme de la creme gross.
Oh, that one looks pretty. Yeah, that looks pretty.
Actually, go down. Hang on, this has only got this year. Actually, go to that one. That one was only a $27,000 Renault. That one. Go down. No, the one that one there was a $27,000 Renault.
Oh, that does look quite juicy. Like it. Ooh.
So with that one, I kept the kitchen and I kept the 2 bathrooms. All I did with that one was replace the flooring. I painted it, lighting, window treatments, and I think there's maybe a little bit of tiling and a new. I had to replace the laundry. But if you have a look at the bathrooms in the after pictures, see that's it. See that bathroom there, and then you scroll down. Exactly. I actually kept it. All I did was paint it, and that kitchen was a completely original kitchen as well. And that kitchen was horrible.
It's crazy how much the angle and the styling really like that looks like not very nice whatsoever. You've got just paint on the walls, and then you got rid of these old doilies. But it's essentially the same. It's the same.
It is the same. Yeah, just painted. Yeah. The only difference was there was a different light in there. That's another one. Is lighting plays a massive. I always put in these ones. I always put oyster lights in, and the lighting makes a massive difference when it comes to.
Yeah, it definitely does.
How it presents.
Wow. And that was 27. Okay, well, let's talk to the numbers then. $330,000 purchase.
Wow.
$27,000 renovation. Sell price $550,000. Profit $151,000.
How good is that though? Yeah, they sold to do a lap around Australia. Like, I mean, that's you were able to. able to do a lap around Australia.
That's actually wrong. That's actually wrong. It was that this guy was actually. There was a deal underneath that was the lap around Australia. After I did it, I realised I got it mixed up. But this guy was actually he was working and he was just selling up to move into a flat because the house was too big for him. If you go down to another deal, I'll show you which one was the lap of Australia one. This house was pretty horrendous, actually. Actually, no, it's not there. Keep going down. Keep going. No, actually higher. No, other way.
So
yeah, that recent. One. That was the this one was actually the lap of Australia one.
Pulling up. Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, there's a couple of questions that have popped in, and I think they're pretty. I find it hard to understand the large difference between the sell and the buy prices around $200,000. Is this because you get the houses cheaper than the market?
Correct.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I'm picking up from this is you're buying problems, right? You're not buying the solution. You're creating the solution out of a massive problem that no one else wants to deal with. So you're getting in there, you're getting your hands dirty. Well, you're getting your trades hands dirty.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's the differences it's making. It's all these little 1%ers. But it is tough to, like, you're not going to find these deals on market. Like, by the time the real estate agent's spoken to the vendor and done all the market research, they know that they shouldn't be selling this property at these cheap prices. But
correct.
I guess the people that you're dealing with have other situations.
I think as well they would struggle. They'd struggle to sell it. Like they wouldn't, like, you probably, I don't know, what do you reckon? You're sort of picking them up sort of 50 to 70 to 80K on what it could sell for, or how much?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, that's probably about right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you just, like I said, there's all different reasons why people sell off market and they want to, quick out. Like I mentioned it before, distress and houses, terrible. Like they've had bad tenants. Like if there's another house in there which I made 60K on, it's a 60K preference. So it was one of the lower ones, but the guy was like, he had plenty of money and he was retired, and his wife's son, so his stepson, was a drug addict and had basically destroyed the house, and he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. So, and the agent came in and she gave an appraisal and it was low, and then I went in sort of 20 grand under what the agent said, and he just took it because obviously he wasn't going to have to pay me agent's fees. But I knew that she kind of underdid it, like in the appraisal. So there's just all different types of reasons why people will sell off market. Yeah. I mean, but the reason why I don't go on market, because these houses do come up on market, right? But the difference is, at the moment in Perth, if I went to a house on market, there's going to be 12 other renovators. Like if I go to a house,
a tradie or a builder will pop on, and they'll be able to pay a little bit more than what you're maybe.
So there's people that do what I do. So I see the same faces if I go to a home open. Like they're just the same. They're just the same people. And my thing is, like, so if to get the property you've got to pay the most. But for me, I'm like, well, that's not really winning, is it? If you've got to pay the most to get the property, you're actually losing, because you mean they're willing to take a smaller profit margin than I am. So that's why I just focus on off market.
And it's almost in a race to the bottom on profit, and the challenge with doing that is you just the problem is it takes sort of, there's a blowout in time frames and or whatever, there's a challenge, and then sort of 3 months from now, who knows, there could, I mean, unlikely, but there could be another sort of 3,000 or 4,000 sort of listings come on the market. I mean, unlikely, but if that happens, and then next minute you're not only just, you're struggling to break even, or you're sort of making 10 to 20K. I don't know so much about lucky to find it in Sydney. I mean, I know somebody in Sydney who's flipping houses and making a shitload more money. Mount Druitt, like, sort of, I mean, not to sort of call out I sort of grew up a couple of minutes from there, so I don't want to sort of say, but yeah, you find the similar sort of areas where they're a little bit more affordable. Even sort of I don't want to disparage on the areas, but there's opportunities in some sort of southwest pockets of Sydney. You sort of go and you find it, the buy price is going to be a little bit more expensive, but
yeah. Well, I mean, you had Karen on a couple of weeks ago, and she's a property renovator flipper, and she buys high end and makes massive profits. So that's the thing. Like, I'm playing in the lower end of the space, but if you're in Sydney or Melbourne, you can do what I'm doing, but you're just going to have to go bigger. You're going to have to do structural reno. So you might be buying houses for $1 million in a good area, or 1.2, and selling it for $2 million. Do you know what I mean? And spending $300,000-400K on the reno. It can be done. It's no different to what I'm doing. But the reno, but instead of making 100K like profit like I am, you're making 300 or 400K. But you
really have to be like, if you're doing $1 million flip and you're only making 100, I think that's
no, you wouldn't be doing that. Yeah. So you'd be making 300 or 400 if you're doing those high ones.
Otherwise, you're wasting. You're too much sort of risk for the not enough return. And
with those ones, you'd have a registered builder doing the reno for you, so you're not even having to project manage it. It'd just be like a development where you're pretty much you've got a builder doing it. So look, that's something that I might go down a later path. It's less hands on. I mean, that's an option. There's always opportunity. You've just got to find it. I mean, it's like at the moment, like with development, development, it's hard to make the numbers work in Perth in development, but there's still people making money. So it's like, well, they're doing something that I'm not.
It is tough because people know that they've got a development site on their hands basically. Whereas
there's
sorry,
great question that come up. Yeah, no, go. The problem. Oh,
Oh, this person asked it a couple of times, so still keen to hear what kind of capital you started with for your first flip. So was it the one down in Greenfields, or was that the Waikiki one?
No, well, so both of them. So the two, the Greenfield one, I actually didn't put any money in, zero. So I started with a no money down deal.
Straight away.
Yeah, but I still had to settle. So I used a money partner to settle, and then I just gave the money partner 11 grand. So it was like a fixed fee. I was really green at the time, didn't know what I was doing, but so that one was a complete no money down deal. And then the Waikiki one, I had a money partner fund the entire purchase and stamp duty, and I funded the reno, which was whatever it was, 40 grand, 38 grand, or whatever it was. So you don't need that. I started with nothing. Like I didn't have the money. I didn't have any money behind me. So for me, I was earning really good money selling new homes, and the market went to shit, and I had too much property. Like I had a few investment properties, and everything was going negative. Like Perth was on the downward slope, so all of a sudden I had like negative equity, and I had like the properties were like really negatively geared. So I was in a shit position. So I decided I'd go work FIFO, and I was just making ends meet. And then for me, I was like, well, I did the FIFO thing. It was like a 2-year plan, 2019. I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. And then I was looking for other businesses. Like, how can I get into business? Got into the flipping, and I pretty much had nothing. I think my wife ended up, the reason my wife we got pregnant with our twins, and she got like a small payout from like a redundancy thing, whatever it was, and so I was able to fund the renovation, I think, with that. So that was with the Waikiki one. So that's kind of my story.
That's great. That's a great story and a great answer. The same person that asked that question is thanks for answering. Following up question: how did you find your first money partner then?
Watch our session with Karen a couple of weeks ago. That's no, but that's
yeah. So if to be honest, like when you're starting out, you have to, if you're going to get money partner, chances are you're going to need to do a course and have a coach, because if you've got a coach, like let's say you join a community, do a course or something like that, and then if the money partner is going to have a criteria, right? They're typically going to want to work with someone who's got either credibility or So for me, I had a coach, so my credibility was having a coach. But I was a part of a group which at the time was had a really good community, and I started doing lots of flips. I got the first one really easily, and then there was obviously a lot of money partners in the group.
Now you've got momentum, right? To keep
now
going
I've got
flying.
I've probably got like 30 people in my phone who would be money partners.
Yeah, I think
so now I get people just message me like from my socials and that saying, "Hey, are you looking for money partners?" It's because
would you say the first sort of first couple were pretty not tough, but they were sort of, you felt a bit nervous probably, or not?
No, I didn't feel nervous, but the first one I made a mistake for sure. So the first one, she was new to money partnering as well, and she wanted legal advice, and I agreed to pay for the legal advice. I still made, it was still a good deal or whatever. I still made a 90K profit from it or whatever, but I ended up paying more for her legal advice, and because I just really wanted the money partner. So I pay, obviously, when you're the project person, you pay for the loan agreement, you pay for all costs, but then if they want legal advice, then they typically go get that themselves, because that's independent. But I ended up, I got paid for legal advice, and just like
it's a little bit it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just did it to get a money partner. But what like my tip is, with money partnering, you've just got to put yourself out there. You've got to go to like property meetup groups in your city. You've got to join Facebook community groups. You've just got to talk to. There's so many people out there with money; it's ridiculous. There's so many people who are happy to get a passive return. Because they're people with busy life. I mean, Karen would have gone through all this with you, but they're business people. They're working a lot of hours. They're busy professionals working 60, 80 hours a week. They've got excess cash and they want to get a return on their investment. So if you've got a deal that stacks up and you put yourself out there, you'll find. And this is I'm coaching people now, and I've just released a course with what I do. And one of the biggest things with the people I'm coaching is that blockage is like, oh, why would they send me give me money sort of thing. Well, if it's everything's mindset. If you think like that, then you're not gonna, law of attraction. If you think positively, then good things are gonna come. So, but you've just got to put yourself out there. So
So one of the things that you said you must do is like get a coach. So what is coaching, and why do I need a coach?
Well, I mean, there's no way you could do 17 deals like I've done in 2 years if I didn't have a coach. I wouldn't have had a clue what I was going to do. How would I have known how to do a feasibility? How would I have known how to do a funding proposal? How would I have known what a loan agreement is? I wouldn't have even known what a money partner was. So it's a whole world of like, you know, I wouldn't have known any of it. So by doing a course, you know, you can learn the basics, and then by
the ropes,
and you know, the ropes, and then a coaching can obviously help fill in the blanks. So I mean,
so what does the coach mean? Where you can just call up and say, "Hey, I'm in the middle of this deal right now, and I'm stuck with this. Can you help me out?"
So some coaches would say wouldn't allow that, but I would. So I've got at the moment I've just released a course. So and then I've got one-on-one clients as well. So with the one-on-one clients, I have a chat with them every week. We have a Zoom call, and we go through, you know, the course content that they've been learning, and also we go through any questions that they've got, sort of stuff, you know. So basically with a coach, like, you know, let's say, for example, if they've got a deal they're working on, they want me to look at the feasibility, I've got to help them vet the FISO. If they have anything at all, like anything to do with the deal, if they've got questions, I can probably answer the questions. So therefore they can lean on me for any of that sort of stuff. Obviously, I don't do the work for them. Like they're the ones that got to take action. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, if I can, I can basically, you know, give them the, you know, put them in the right direction essentially. So, but by having, like, let's say for example, as a money partner, like money partners, like I've just, as part of my course, I've done an interview with one of my money partners, Cheryl, and she sort of spoke about like the pros and cons and what she looks for in a potential deal. And, you know, she says, like, you know, if they haven't got a track record, then she wants someone who's got a coach, because at least that way, if the coach has knows what they're doing, they can vouch for them essentially. And once again, they're not taking that. The coach isn't responsible for it, but at least the coach can look at it and say, well, look, yeah, your numbers look correct to me. You haven't missed anything. You know what I mean?
Well, I think so. You've made a fan here. What's the cost of coasting? Where do we sign up, Graham? We don't really want to do the whole pitch here. So I was more interested about coaching, like to learn about how, like what it is like to have a coach. But yeah, I'm sure you have a website. We'll share at the end of this, and you can go check it out and explore.
Yeah, you can check out the website at the end. But look, as far as coaching, like with my experience when I was a student, so I would have a call. I think I was having a call every second week. But I had like a platform, which is what I also use for my students now. But any questions I had during the week, I'd ask the question, and then I'd get all my answers back, sort of thing. So that's the advantage of having a coach, is because you've got someone that's done it, and they when you're starting out, obviously there's always going to be gaps to, you know, you're taking things in, and we all learn differently, sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think not enough people. A lot of people want to take the shortcuts. I was watching something on, I don't know, TikTok or whatever it was, and it was like this Maserati type car, and it was like when the guy that bought the 300,000 sports car gets the cheapest delivery, and then he drives, someone's driving the car off, it's got like stumps and logs and stuff that the car's driving off, and then of course the whole thing collapses and takes off the bumper, and it's like, well, if you're going hard into this field of trying to make $172,000, you're probably going to need some support. And this is a massive investment. So do it in a smart way rather than, you know, trying to wing it. And don't get me wrong, if you get educated, you can absolutely do it all yourself. But it's like, it sounds like trying to do 8 deals in one go, you're going to need a little bit of a helping hand on there.
Yeah, and just on the profits though, like you don't have to do like when you're starting out, like you only have, you know, if you can do your feasibility and make minimum 50K, then that's a good deal. When you know what I mean. So that's how, as long as it's like, you want to be chasing sort of, you know, 12 to 15% profit margin, in my opinion, minimum. So, but in saying that though, yeah, like for me, minimum 50K profit, then the deal is sort of, you know, worthy, sort of thing. So when you're starting out, like you get better, right? When I started out, I was spending money in areas that I didn't need to, so I was probably overspending on the reno. I was still making good profits, but I probably could have made more. What
are some of those? Yeah, actually, that's one of the questions that I think we should have asked, but we haven't. What are some of the biggest challenges? that you've
Yeah.
hit? Like, what are the biggest things you've struggled
Has to be
with?
tough.
Because this sounds
Yeah,
like a
okay.
smooth, easy
I'll
ride
tell you
so
that
far. What's
I've had one bad deal where that went south. So it was a deal in Fremantle when I biggest learning I took was I wasn't an area expert in the market. Fremantle, everyone knows where Fremantle is because it's Fremantle Dockers or whatever, South Harbour City or whatever. So I actually was kind of more expensive property. I think I paid $900 for it. Anyway.
Wow.
Long story short, I was forecasting. I think it was sort of maybe like 150 or something like that profit in the deal. Anyway, the market was ended. I think I settled on it in July last year, and remember when the interest rate started going up into May, and I'd secured it like before
It's the top
interest
end
rate
of the
started
market.
going. Yeah. So anyway, the interest rate started, and all the owner occupiers just left the market. So by the time I went to market, which would have been September, I think. So July, yeah. So it was like a 2-month reno because this was a more nicer finish. House came out absolutely sweet. Like it was by far the best renovation I've done. Like it looked amazing, like compared to all the others I've done. And and then I had my appraisals, and the appraisals were coming in at like 1.4, and I had anyway. Long story short, we went on the market, and then we just didn't get any bites. So I ended up going, okay, well I'll take 1.3, and I needed 1.2 to break even, or I think 1.2 to break even. And then at 1.3, I still wasn't getting like any bites. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I thought my market was going to be young professional sort of thing, because it was that area, it had like a river view from the balcony. It was like on the border of East Fremantle. It was like a really nice location. But where I stuffed up was that all the surrounding houses were all like character homes, and this house had been built in like the 80s or something, so it was different. It was like more, it was a 2-story as well, and it was a 3x2. There was 3x1 selling for like for that were not even nice, selling for 1.4, and this was a 3x2, and it was like the other blocks were like 500. This was like 380, so it's a slightly smaller block, but it still had like a really nice yard. I spent money on the patio, spent money on the landscaping. Like it was like a 200K reno. So it was way more than what I typically do. Anyway, long story short, I couldn't sell it, and so I got an independent valuer come out. He valued at 1.3. So even at 1.3, I was still going to make like 100K profit on it. And anyway, long story short, I was going to take it off the market and just do Airbnb. I was like, I'll wait for the market to pick up again. And anyway, it was the week before Christmas, end of last year, and I just accepted an offer for 1.195, and I would have pretty much broken even. So,
but
yeah,
what happens if you sold that now? Like,
well, I don't know how much that market's improved or not, because that's an owner-occupier market. Do you know what I mean? So I think I would definitely have gotten 1.3 easy now, but maybe I should have held on to it. But at the same time, at the time, like I was thinking to myself, like, I just wanted to get on with it and just do more flips and go back to the market that I knew that was performing, which was the lower end of the market. So, look, I just took that one on the chin. I think, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, you're going to have, you're going to have failures. It's just as long as you get back up, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good story. Any other kind of big lessons, not big lessons like that, hundreds of thousands of dollar decisions, but like any lessons that other people can take away, like just don't do X, or these are the biggest things that I struggled with at the start, and then I'm like, damn, why did I do that? Like, are there any of those type of things that, like,
I think a lot of people get
money on?
I think a lot of people get too emotional. So at the start, it needs to be like there's not a blemish in sight, sort of thing. It has to be absolutely perfect, like a display home. So you kind of like you spend money in areas where you don't need to. So there was another reno, which I think it was another reno I did last year, and I was forecasting a 60K profit, and I walked away with 40. So, and the reason I walked away with 40 is I didn't get my numbers wrong, but I spent 20K. I blew my reno by 20K. So, yeah. So again, and I just went silly with the reno. Like I just didn't. I spent money in areas that I just didn't need to, which I wasn't going to give me the return. Like I spent I put in this really nice patio, and it was it was just pointless. Like I look back now, I'm like, it was still green. It was probably my 5th or 6th deal, and I just was still green.
Crazy. Yeah. And that's it. Just getting emotional, overcapitalizing.
Yeah, I
It's the
think
best of us.
yeah. You just got to really know. Like the biggest thing is like just knowing your numbers. Like like that Fremantle one. Like looking back now, like the reason I stuffed up on that deal is, and I talked about being an area expert. I didn't know the market well enough. Like I thought I did, but that market, it wanted character homes. If it had been a character home, because it was a big downsizer market as well, so a lot of downsizers were buying in there. And they didn't want one being a 2-story because it had it was a 2-story with a spiral staircase. So every downsizer came through and went, no, we don't want it. So you really have to be like, you have to know your market so well. And like the markets that I'm playing in now, like I know them so well. Like I know exactly what they want. Whereas if you're playing in a more upmarket area, like I said, as soon as if you're dealing with owner occupiers, and I have done a few deals. Like I did probably 2 or 3 deals last year, which were owner occupier, and they were like still had really good results. Like I did a takeover, a seller JV with the seller, which I didn't buy the property and did a deal that way. But if you start playing in more upmarket areas, your renos are going to blow out massively. Like if I'm doing a reno for 50, 60K, if I'm buying in an area, for $1 million, or I don't know, $1 million doesn't buy much in Sydney, but if you're playing in a more upmarket area, you can't put in a DIY kitchen like I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, or you have to, you have to know what the buyer wants. You have to know the spec. You need to, if I'm putting in shitty tap sort of thing, in a more upmarket area, they probably want like, brush nickel or whatever. They want it to be a nicer finish, so you've got to spend more money on the reno depending on and that's all about knowing your market.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest point. Like you're talking about you working in this lower end of the market, but if you were an area expert in that suburb, you would have known. Like if these were the 2 suburbs that you were inspecting and what was it, Fremantle was on that list, you would have easily said, okay, no, this isn't going to stack up. I'm not going to make my 1.3, so I'm going to move on. But you kind of branched out and went into a market that you weren't as familiar with. So not to say that these upper end markets won't work.
My first year, I was actually just doing deals all over the place. So I did I did one in Willage. Yeah, I did one in Willagee. I did one in Mullaloo, which if you guys aren't from Perth, you're not going to know this. But these were like one deal was Willagee's close to Fremantle. I did Fremantle. I did a couple down in Rockingham. I did one in Mullaloo, which is north. They were just like in. Whereas like now, what I teach people is like you need to get good in an area. Like don't try and be everything, because you need to know what the buyer wants. It like literally, if you're playing in an upmarket area and you like the Fremantle one, like I did. And again, I know that 1.2 is not upmarket, 1.4 is not upmarket in Sydney, but if you're playing in a market where the buyers have a bigger wish list and you get it wrong, then that's going to hurt you.
Yeah, love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to run through this. I think there's one last question I think that's worthwhile bringing up. We have gone through a massive trade shortage, material costs are skyrocketing. How does Graham deal with rising material costs and rising trade costs when doing the FISO?
From Brendan, our mate Brendan Kroll. We should maybe get him on.
Yeah, so there's definitely been cost increases since I started, but most of the trade price increases, like the increases, are more like structural stuff. So like timber and steel and all that sort of stuff. Like buying like bathroom vanities and stuff like that. Like a lot of the materials I get as well, I find people. So I've got a few suppliers who bring stuff in from China. So like kitchens, my hybrid floor, my tiles. I mean, it all comes in from China anyway. But there's if you, rather than going through the big guys who sell in bulk or whatever, and they have obviously big overheads. There's a lot of people like just like me or you who import stuff and just have little shops and small overheads, and you can pick up good prices and stuff like that. So with that sort of stuff, that it hasn't really gone up much, And my trades guys haven't gone up anyway. Like I still pay my plumber like $120 an hour, so it's not like he's cheap. Do you know what I mean? But he was $120 when I don't think he's gone up too much since I've started using him. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Love it. This has been an awesome session. I think that you are pretty unique in the way that you've approached this property investing game and very different. I don't know. It feels like it's not different to you because it's just the way that you've done it, but you've just gone, straight in. Money partners. How do I actually make this happen? I'm not just going to sit on the sidelines and not make it work. So hats off to you for getting it done, and then also achieving so much, so short, so quickly. What was it, 18,
Thanks.
19 deals? Mental.
No, it's 17.
17. I appreciate you sharing all of that. How do people reach out? What do we do to learn a little bit more?
Yeah, so just jump on the if you want to do my course, or if you just want to have a chat with me, just go on my website, redmayne.com.au. If you want to know where the name Red Mane comes from, I've got 3 boys with red hair, so it just Red Mane was fitting name. So so Redmayne, redmane.com.au. Just send me through an inquiry, and yeah, we'll have a chat if you want to know more about the course.
Yeah, no, thanks. And I've dropped your group in the chat as well, so people can check. You've got some content there as well for those interested in learning more specifically about property flipping. So yeah, thanks for coming on. And when my parents did a flip, they imported a whole container of materials from China. There you go.
I actually the people I buy my tiles from. So there's a company in Perth that I buy my tiles from, and they flip houses as well, and they bring everything in themselves. So they bring in, yeah. So they would save a lot on material costs compared to me.
There you go. That's got an 8-week Kajabi. So there you go. So no, thanks for, and good on you for taking action. I'm sure you'll be on a podcast coming to you soon. So have a look out for Graham on your favorite podcast soon. I mean, if that's not ours, I suppose, but I'm sure many people love us.
Yeah, we're number one. Prop number one. Cool. Thank you very much, Graham. I appreciate you doing it. And if anyone wants to reach out. And let's go buy a renovation flip or some kind of flipping property. See you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later. Yeah. See ya.